and welcome back for another fun Extreme Power Hour podcast. And I'm your host, Alden Antonucci. I've got a bunch of great friends here, and you can kind of see like this is kind of big, kind of a big group that we've got going on over here. There's 4 of us, and this is actually the first time we've ever done 4, huh, Alex?
Yeah.
It's kind of exciting, huh?
Yeah.
Have we done 4 before?
Tiffany, yeah.
I think we've done 3.
And your sister. Oh, no, 3.
3.
Yeah, because your sister wasn't here. Yeah.
Yeah. So super fun. Well, we're really excited here. I've got a friend here from Italy, and Lucas Lavieti.
Luca, don't put the S. Extra time.
And then we've got obviously Alex Omaya, which is kind of co-hosting me. Thanks for coming back, Alex.
Thanks for having
Man, it's
me.
been too long.
Too long.
I know it's only been like a couple days, but hey,
let's do it every day.
Let's do it every day. That's super fun. And then we've got Troy Hyde here, and so he's our main special guest that we're going to
host.
Super host. We're super excited to have him here. Where you know what? I'm just going to pass it straight on to Alex and dive right into the story about Troy.
Yeah, Troy, you're a really interesting character.
I don't know about that, but
well, I mean, the first 10 minutes I was talking to you, I feel like I had a million questions to ask. But yeah, so you owned Animals Montana.
correct.
Right?
Yeah.
What exactly was that? Can you explain that?
Yeah. Animals of Montana was a company that raised and trained wild animals for movie work. So we had 25 different species of predators that we trained for movie work.
Wow. And what led you to get into this kind of work?
Well, in all honesty, I didn't want to go to college. And one of my friends at the time was going to go to college. He ended up being a F-16 fighter pilot for his entire career. And so when he was making his decisions to go that route, I just couldn't see myself in college. And so I thought about going to wildlife biology, which my father was.
Oh, okay.
And my father was kind of from the old school, and he told me not to. And so I started this business when I was a senior in high school.
Oh, wow. And how long did you have?
33 years.
Oh, wow. Man. Well, I mean, that makes sense. You don't want to go to college, so you just, start a sanctuary with bears.
Yeah, well, we started off a little smaller. We started off with mountain lions and graduated into the bigger stuff, tigers and lions and so on and so forth.
So what was the premise when you first opened it? Was it to...
Well, the premise was to raise and train animals for movies. I was a little naive and young at the time. So I thought everybody did it, and I thought it was something that was out there, and just never researched anything, just did my own thing. And then I ended up working with a company when I was a pretty young guy. And there's a company out of California, which is a really big name, Trainer. And I ended up working for that guy. And after I did like 4 or 5 different films for him, I'd asked him one day, I said, well, what would cause you to leave a company as big as the one that you're working with and come to a young kid like me that really don't know anything? And he looked at me and he said, how many people do you think are here today? I go, I'm like 600. He goes, who do you think's paying them? I go, I am. He goes, well, we go to the other place and we say we want a bear to snarl. That might take 45 minutes to make that happen. It takes you 5 seconds. So we move on to the next shot because your animals are literally trained. And so that's what made it all start to happen.
So you could tell a bear to snarl like a dog, like sit, and the bear would sit.
Yeah, Adam knew 74 behaviors, and he knew sign language for all of it, so I didn't have to speak to him on set. I just signed him.
Adam, that was your
Grizzly bear.
Yeah, you were telling me a little bit about that before we started. Oh, so you said you got Adam when he was
3 weeks old.
Oh,
so 2 weeks before his eyes opened.
where do you get a baby bear?
Well, I actually bought Adam from a place out of Minnesota that had, captive bears.
Okay.
Most people don't do what I do when they have animals in captivity. They might be a drive-through zoo park type thing or something like that. Our animals were hands-on, trained to do different specific behaviors. So one of the things that we used as a selling point is if you film at our place, your cameraman doesn't have to work the animals. The animals will work the camera. Wow. And so we actually required them to script the animal's part. So if they send me a script, then I would write them right back and say, send me the script with the animal scripted. with the things that they wanted and needed, we could figure out how long it would take to make that happen and how much time would we need to prepare the animal. We call it prep time. And then there's a price for the prep time, and then there's a price for the film. And then if they agree on the contract, then we start training for that specific film.
Wow. So would you say you were like the number one person in the
No,
US that did
I don't think I was the number one person as far as per se film work that goes out the door, but I think we're probably ahead of most people with the training.
Yeah, because that's a very niche business. You know,
Very niche.
You don't have a lot of people
Mhm.
doing this kind of stuff.
If I was to butt in real quick, who is your competition at this point? Do you know? You could probably list on one hand your competition.
Yeah, there was probably 5 major competitors throughout my career
Right.
in the business, and some of them, there's like 2 of them that maybe are at our level, but the other ones, because a lot of people think if you have just using a mountain lion for example, they think if you have a mountain lion, you can put a chain on him and walk him. He's trained. That's what trained is to most people.
Right.
To me,
Like
is
the zoo.
Yeah, like a zoo animal. It could be moved around and people can handle it from A to B. Where our animals, if you were standing out in the meadow here and said, hey, I want the mountain lion to stand right there, and I can throw a rock over there and say, mark it, and he faces me when he gets on the mark. And then from there, I can command him to do like 9 different behaviors.
Wow. That's incredible.
Any movie sets that we would be most familiar with?
Some of the later stuff with like The Mountain Between Us with Idris Elba and Kate Winslet.
Mm-hmm.
And they have an airplane crash, and then the mountain lions are terrorizing Kate in the cockpit of the crashed plane. That's our lions.
Very cool.
Wow. Other than that major film, would it be mostly smaller?
Yeah, a lot of films are really small when you think about them. The film might be big, but our part is very small.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like The Mountain Between Us is like a hour-and-a-half movie, but the mountain lions have like a 2-minute part.
Would they have to fence the area off, the set off from?
Well, The Mountain Between Us was all done in a studio, and so there was really no fencing, and it was a pretty good sized plane, so it was a real plane inside of a studio, built 14 feet off the ground, a big, where the plane was sitting up on top.
Wow.
And so yeah, there's a lot of stuff it's done like that, and I've done a lot of outdoor stuff. We use hot wires if we need to. Adam didn't necessarily need anything.
What's a hot wire?
It's a little wire we put in the ground on a 3/8 fiberglass rod.
Oh, I see.
And it runs electricity through it.
Yeah, an electric fence or something.
Yeah, you could put all my animals on a hot line. They'd stay there forever if you didn't come back.
Wow. And so would you drive the animals out to wherever the studio, Hollywood or?
Yeah, well, we had a system that we'd do either way. If you wanted us to drive, we'd drive, but you got to keep in mind you're paying me and the animals for half-day rate. So like, for example, if somebody wanted me, I'll just use Alaska as an example. So it's 4 days to go up there and 4 days to come back, traveling about 600 miles a day. The 600 miles a day is based on how rough we want it to be for the animals. So we do about 600 miles a day. So you're looking at 400 miles up there, or 4 days up there and 4 days back. So it's cheaper for them to actually fly us up there than it is to. So we leave that up to them, however they want to do it.
Wow. When I think of the logistics of that, I'm like, what if you're driving where you get a hotel? Like,
And
where do you leave the animal?
How do you fly a bear?
Yeah.
Are you just like, hey, put the bear in the cage, and then you're sitting there reading your magazine, and then you're standing right above a grizzly bear?
Yeah. Well, we have aluminum kennels, and they're not like a kennel like you're thinking, but they're, some of them are pretty big. They can fit through the door of a DC-8 or bigger. And so we can load them here in Bozeman, and then wherever we're going, like if we're going out of country, then we clear customs in either Seattle or Minnesota.
Man, you must have a really big truck to put these bears in.
Well, I had a 38-foot trailer, but it's climate controlled and it's got all the stuff in it.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, these are things you don't think about when you're watching a movie with a bear in it.
Right.
All the prep work that goes into it.
There's a lot goes on behind the scenes to make it happen.
Wow.
So more about what brought you here to this point today. Who are you when you were like a child and your family? And I want to know you. What makes you tick?
Well, I don't know. I grew up with a family. I have 4 brothers, and we all did different things. I think I was kind of more the outcast and had different ideas on different things that I wanted to do. And I kind of did my own thing. And even through high school, I did my own thing. And I never had a lot of friends that you go out, they all go drinking and all that kind of stuff. Even when I was a junior, senior in high school, I was on the basketball team, and if I wasn't playing basketball, I was monkeying with critters, and I didn't have a lot at the time. And I, by the time I was a senior, it was a full-fledged business. But I was living in Wisconsin at the time.
Wow.
Wow. So then you left high school and you went into your business.
Yep, full time.
You had your animals in Wisconsin, and then how did you come to Montana?
I was getting so many phone calls at one time where everybody wanted to come to the West. And then, like I said, I wasn't trained in marketing or anything, but I was getting enough phone calls where I was like, man, I got to go West because I have to charge them to go there. So it makes sense to go where everybody wants you. And so I came out here. I was actually hired to come out here for bring some outlines out here for a still photographer. And we spent a week and a half filming. And the place that I have now was literally not very far from where he was at that time. And so I wanted to buy that. Well, I moved here, and that place had just sold. And I moved here about 10 months after I came here and did the film work. And then it turned out I was renting from the people of the home that I wanted to buy. And then the owner actually passed away, and so the widow sold it to me. And so that's how I got where I'm at.
Divine
Wow.
timing. That's
awesome.
divine timing.
Yeah.
Wow. And when was that? That was
I lived here in the same home since 1989.
wow.
And but I have been the owner of that home since January 1st, 2005.
Oh wow. So you've been here since 89 doing this. And is there another use for your farm other than film?
No, I
Tourism
only used it for filming. I didn't really get into the tourism aspect of things. Was always training, animals, different animals. When you have that many species too, you every morning you want to be up way before daylight because you start training about 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. It's too hot to keep training.
Yeah.
Predators don't like heat.
Yeah. Bears. Yeah. That's a lot of fur. Can we talk about Adam?
Sure.
Because Adam is so interesting. So Adam was your grizzly bear that you had since he was, did you say 3 weeks?
Yeah, I got Adam when he was 3 weeks old, and I hand raised him. So I had him at 3 weeks. That's 2 weeks before his eyes opened.
Aw.
And then we bottle fed, and of course, the bear's a nurse until about mid-June. Born in January 20th.
What do you feed them?
What do I feed bears?
What do you feed the babies in the bottle?
We have a product that we buy from a commercial place, and it's called 40-60, which is 40% protein, 60% fat.
Oh, okay.
And a grizzly bear's mother's milk is 1/3 fat. It's as rich as a whale's milk.
Wow.
Well, that's
Interesting.
super intriguing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if I was to maybe rewind a little bit, you kind of left me on a cliffhanger here. You said in high school, you started training animals. How does one start training animals? Do you train a dog, then a cat, or a cat, dog, and then go to a grizzly bear? Or how's that transition
Well,
look?
I never really monkeyed with dogs at all.
Right.
I just was always interested in the wild species because there's certain looks or certain things that I would pick up on and go, well, he's scared of this or he's scared of that. And how do you work around that? And how do you make it work? And not to get off track, but I had a gentleman that was kind of my childhood hero, and his name was Lloyd Beebe. And he had the world's largest zoo, and he was Dr. Lloyd Beebe. And I talked to him about wolverines, and they said, well, wolverines can't be trained. And I talked to a couple of other people about wolverines, and they said, no, they can't be trained. Anyway, to make a long story short, I had 18 wolverines, and I had the only 9 trained wolverines in the world that knew like 7 different behaviors.
What?
So if you ever watch the movie Wolverine, The Last Phantom, that's all my stuff.
So your animals.
Wow.
Wow.
How cool is that?
Yeah.
So you went from high school, were you like, I was in auto class all day, or I was in wood, and I was in like the trade side of the school. Did they have an animal zoo side of your school?
No, they didn't. We didn't have that in school. We had like I did the shop stuff where you do the welding. I was
Right.
more interested in the welding, and because I knew eventually I would want to build cages and learn how to do those types of things. So that was really the only shop that I had. And then when I was a senior, I had 2 classes that I took and I could have probably graduated, but I stayed with it, and I had like 4 hours of shop.
Right.
So,
Right.
but if I wasn't there, I was training.
Right. And so at this point where now you're graduating high school, did you ever go to college or any formal education to train all these animals?
No, I never did go to college. My dad was a biologist, and I had announced at one point in time that I was going to maybe go into wildlife biology, and he basically told me not to.
Right.
And he said, don't do it, because the reasons that you wouldn't want to do it is because you're not a paper guy.
Mm.
And biology is a lot of paperwork. And if you don't know somebody or you're not connected with the right people, you won't be working with animals.
Right.
And so it didn't take me long to give that some thought and start training harder and full time. And then I think when I was like 19 or whatever, I got my foot in the door with National Geographic back in the day.
Right.
And I did my first few films with them, and then it just kind of, like I said, I never had any marketing or anything. The name took off through word of mouth.
What name was that? Same thing.
Well,
Same
it was
name?
Animals of Wisconsin.
Animals of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then Animals of Montana it became, and then, just my name too, Troy Hyde.
Mm-hmm.
People, some of the best compliments I had gotten later in my career was I got a call from a gentleman wanting to do an IMAX film on wolves. And I was like to myself, wow. And so I said, well, if you want to come by and see the animals and take a look. And so he showed up, and him and his wife, and when they were sitting at the kitchen table, and I said to him, well, do you want to see some kind of a display or something? And he goes, like what? And I said, well, what, I can show you what they'll do. How's that? And he goes, yeah. So I took a wolf out and I made him snarl, and I made him lunge and show his teeth like he's coming after you. I made him lay down on his chest, lay down on his side. Fourth is back to all 4 feet. And then go from A to B, back to the mark, lie down on side is over on your side, play dead. And so we went out and did like a 15-minute little deal, and then the guys were putting the wolf away, and they were saying goodbye. And I said, yeah, just give me a call if you're going to be around, and I'll make sure I'm here if you guys want to talk about a contract or something.
Very cool.
And he was like, no, we're not leaving. We're going to do a contract right now.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was like your foot in the door at that point.
Well, I was way in the door by then, but that was
Right.
my first IMAX film. That's IMAX Films Wolves. That's ours. And IMAX movie, IMAX film Bears. That's ours.
That's
Oh,
in
no
the
way.
Yellowstone Park, correct?
Yeah.
Yellowstone,
Yeah.
West
Yeah,
Yellowstone.
they play it down there now
Yeah,
and then.
I've
Yeah,
totally seen that a few times. with
yeah,
my
that's all
kids.
our stuff.
Very cool.
Would you breed? Would you breed the animals?
I did breed,
do you?
yeah. I did breed. I bred a lot of babies and different things over time. Wolves are harder because you have to have so many. It's like if you go on a big wolf set and let's just say somebody calls me, and I've had this happen where they say, well, we want 7 wolves. Okay, we'll have 7 wolves. But then you read the script, and it's going to be like a 3.5, 4-month deal. So you have to have 14 wolves. So we run 7 for 1 week, and then put them away and run 7 the next week, and then keep taking fresh. So they all look the same because we try to match them as best we can.
Just give them a haircut and flop the hair over.
Yeah, no. Or just like, brothers and sisters that look alike.
Right.
And then we pick those. And then when you start training, there's a lot of steps that go to picking out who's going to go and who's going to not make it.
So at that point, so now you've got all these wolves, and I'm super intrigued to know more, especially on these details. I guess I was thinking too was you also had with Animals of Montana, there's a couple things that kind of happen there. Right now, you're kind of are you shut down right now, or how's that
Yeah,
looking?
we got closed down. We kind of voluntarily shut down at the same time.
Got it.
And moved on from Animals of Montana. I did have Adam, who was probably the oldest one there.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a tiger and a African lion and a black leopard. The black leopard was like 22,
Right.
and he passed right about when all that started. The African lion and tiger were both 18 plus, and they both went about that time. So at that point in time, I started asking myself at 60 years old, at that time, do you want to try to train a tiger again?
What year was that roughly?
That would have been like 2 years ago
Right.
when they all started passing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to ask myself, do I want to try to train a tiger again
Mm-hmm.
to that level? And the answer to that's no. Physically, I don't think I could do it anymore.
Right.
And so, bear would be easy. Tigers, lions, leopards, no.
Right.
Be a rough go at this age. And so I started thinking about what else would I want to do in life. And then that's when we started letting things go, just quit fighting with the state and let it go.
And so basically you almost got a lot of bad publicity, right?
Lots of-
There was an incident that basically there was an instructor. Would you call them an instructor that was feeding the bear, or how would that person, what's their title?
Well, he was an animal handler.
Animal handler.
And so he was the kind of guy you could call if you were coming in by helicopter and say, get the snow leopards ready. And we'd pull in and land, maybe take a bear out.
He would feed, prep.
Yeah, he
bring
could
'em.
feed and water them. He could get them from A to B,
Got it.
have them prepared to go when we got there. So it was just like load them up, unload what we have, and reload and go.
Well, I know definitely one of the things that we want to talk to you about too is kind of clear the air, because that was kind of a bad stain, and unfortunately somebody died on the premise.
Yep.
And he was with the grizzly bears. And I know with the title, sometimes that's on the newspaper, isn't exactly what happened.
Yeah, not even close.
Yeah. So what we'd really like to do is invite you back and maybe clear the air and give us the true side of the story.
Sure.
Would you mind come back for that?
Absolutely come back.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for coming out and watching Extreme Power Hour podcast, where I got Troy Hyde as a great special guest with Animals of Montana. And we're kind of leaving off. If you guys pay attention to the next episode, we're going to get into details about what happened to the handler, the animal handler, and the passing, and obviously kind of the shutting down of Animals of Montana. So pay
Sounds-
attention and watch the next one. Stay tuned.